Hi, good evening. This is Romesh Srivastava, Editor-in-Chief SightsIn Plus, your host and moderator for this webinar. Joining us two esteemed panelists, Mr. Sharad Verma. Sharad is the Chief Human Resource Officer at IS Software, and Mr. Manish Chum is the founder of Workfloww.ai, and Manish is also the facilitator of our two-day certification course that is Applied AI in Human Resources. One request to all the attendees. First of all, very warm welcome to all of you attendees. And please keep your questions restricted to five categories that I think already has been shared with you. So first category that would be AI tech in HR. So any question related to the AI technology in human resources, that is the tools, integration, please feel free to ask. Another question that is the use cases of AI in human resources. Third category, we would appreciate if you can share with the data security and ethics part. Fourth category, that is the building AI capabilities, upskilling, etc. And third and the last fifth category, that would be the artificial intelligence and HR business partnership here. We can talk about the human touch, we can talk about the empathy part, these all the things. So, Sharad, before we start the discussion, if you look at the challenges, last time we have also discussed about the challenges what the generally CHROs are facing while the integration of artificial intelligence in human resources. So, I think the skills gap is still a major challenge what the CHROs are facing. Other than we do have the data challenge, we do have the data quality as it is required because the artificial intelligence is working based on the data and algorithm. So if you don't have good data, so that is a challenge. If you team is not skilled, so that is a challenge. So how do you see the skilling your team for the artificial intelligence is a big challenge for the CHROs and how they can work on this?
Great question. Yes. So skilling is obviously important because as the technology is advancing fast, you see almost once in 2 months, OpenAI is releasing a new version of ChatGPT with new capabilities. In just last 2 months, they have released Agent Builder, they have released ChatKit, and just 2 days back they have released Atlas, they have released Pulse. So very fast the technology is advancing. The question is the skill keeping pace with this? As you rightly said, this is the $1 million question. I think, in my experience, what is keeping us still behind is skepticism. People are, they're still, whether to test the water or not. Let me wait and watch how this will turn out. It is still it is hallucinating. It is not giving correct data. So that wait and watch are so many people that it's moving slowly. And that results in slower pace of skill acquisition. For skill acquisition, two most important things are required. One is curiosity. Second is ability to experiment. I mean, just get hold of the training program that's being offered, that is in front of you, and just test it out, see what it is. Nothing in life gives a 100% results. So unless we try it out, we will never know its benefits. The more you try it out, the more proficient you become, the more your expertise level goes up, the more you will be able to utilize it. Definitely, skill upgradation is the challenge, and the great thing is that everybody is learning. So there are some people, they are a few steps ahead of you, and then you are also on the learning bandwagon. The pioneers, OpenAI themselves are learning and they are releasing new. That's why so many releases are coming so fast, because they are also learning. So people who move early and they upskill themselves will have a distinct advantage 6 months, 1 year from now. That's my take on skill upgradation.
No, absolutely. Those who learn early, they will have the advantage definitely. Manish, what is your experience on this? How do you see? Last time also I shared a data that might be the organizations they have started investing on skilling part. And around 70% organizations have started investing on this. Still 30% organizations even have not taken the initiative to upskill their team for the artificial intelligence. We are talking about the HR. So in HR, we are talking. What is your experience, Manish? How do you see what is the trend right now? How the companies have started upskilling their team on this?
So thanks, Romesh, first of all, for having me here. So it's an interesting question, and there are few insights, very clear insights, which is coming in terms of the adoption of it, right? So like any new technology, every technology has its own adoption curve, right? Then again, now adoption, what we want to look at it is in two aspects. One is at an individual level, and the other one is at an enterprise level. So if you look at it, let's say the adoption of individual level of any of the AI tool, let's say ChatGPT. Now there's a statistic that what number of people, what internet took to reach it was about 13 months when internet was launched at a individual level, vis-a-vis what chat dpt was able to do it, right, was exactly in 2 months. So if you look at it, that metric, the AI adoption is faster than the adoption of internet, right? So that's another, a paradox out of it. But enterprise behave very differently in terms of the adoption, right? Because the decision and that criteria of investment or using of any of the tool is very different from the way organizations pick it up. So to answer your question, there are different trends which are coming in. If I'm how I skill myself as an individual, as an individual, other than identity of my organization, the other one is how I adopt AI as part of my organization to do my work, right? Within the periphery of the organization. And what we see is a very different behavior in that. Individually, people are experimenting a lot of tools, a lot of productivity tools, a lot of automation, and so on and so forth. But when you come within the periphery of organization, of course, there are enterprise boundaries and guardrails and so on and so forth. So that is one insight on the adoption of AI. The second is that I think a lot more education has to go into it in terms of what is AI. Okay, a lot of people feel that okay, if we are using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, that's an AI. Well, that's one part of it, right? So there is a machine learning, of course, which at individual level it's difficult to adopt because you need a deep expertise in terms of data science and data architectures and so on and so forth. But what we are essentially using is a Gen AI capability. Now there are agentic AI capability as well, right? So it is important to understand that what people are using it is essentially Gen AI, right? And a lot more effort and a lot more communication is required by organizations to its own people, as well as people who are there in this space, to tell people that what is AI, what each aspects of AI can do to you for your own productivity. So I think that is one another aspect to it. The third one is that what I see and what we have seen through our consulting work plus through a lot of these sessions is, if you tell people what technology will do to you in your own space, in your own life, and how it will solve the problem, I think we have seen a huge uptick in the adoption, right? So then people will figure it out, ways to gain skills. People will invest, in terms of what it can do to you. Uh, and to be fair to the tech and the people part of it, this technology is evolving, right? And people are still trying to figure it out where it can apply, right? So I think going beyond what Sharad also said, these are some of the insights what we pick it up from the clients as well as from individual users. And very interesting for me personally was individual users behave very differently in terms of AI adoption when they are individual users vis-a-vis what they as an employee of an organization.
So, Manish, before we jump into deeper into the challenges part and how the other tools are helping in HR, there's a one question, and this question is regarding use cases. So, how we can use the artificial intelligence, maybe for the compliances, maybe with the labor laws and domestic inquiry.
So you see, I'll give a different lens, Romesh here. I do hear a lot of these questions that okay, what AI can do in learning space, in compliance space, in regulatory space, and so on and so forth. Now, AI can do a lot of things, right? So I flip back and, I always ask the person who's asking this question that, okay, what do you want to achieve? With AI, without AI, we will bring AI later on. But what do we want to achieve in that particular use case? And what is the problem statement, what we are trying to solve? Now, once we identify that, then it becomes very clear and, appropriate to say that, okay, how AI can be leveraged in that use case. Okay. So my question back would be is that if you talk about regulatory and compliances, AI can do a ton of things, right? And we can keep on talking about it. But and if this is a question which has come from one of the participants, my question back would be is that what you want to achieve, what is the problem statement you are trying to solve? If you are solving a problem statement of research, which means that you want a complete checklist of all the compliances and regulatory action points, any of the AI tools, which are very powerful tools, can create a compilation of entire research checklist forms to you, and very quickly what you can do it, right? If you are looking at where you don't want to invest time in filing or filling all those forms, and you want somebody to file it, and not file it with the agencies, but give you a filled format. Oh yes, agentic AI can very well do it. If you want an analysis of the fact that, okay, of all the compliances reports, which are the non-compliances, and what are the actions what has been taken, and how can we avoid non-compliances in the future? Now, that is also an insight generation which can happen. So my question to a flip back question to in this case, Romesh, would be is that AI can do ton of things, but what is that exact problem statement what we are solving? And if we use that lens first before looking at, okay, what AI can do, I think we'll be able to get a very, very appropriate insight about what AI can do for us.
I think he has also highlighted about the base settlement, one of problem statement, but not very particular. It's a very generic kind of question, that is base settlement.
So actually, you see, when we talk about wage settlement, there are a lot of negotiations which happens, right? It's a LTS process goes through it. It's a very highly contextual data context of this particular stuff, right? Now, AI thrives in certain areas wherein it is rule based. There are data pipelines there. There is a very rule based decisions which can be made, or there is a lot of data available. Now, if you ask me, frankly, in a highly contextual environment when there are multi-party ecosystem, when you are dealing with unions, and when you are there are a lot of other people internally doing that. uh, AI won't, wage settlement can't do that. Yes, of course, AI can give you a lot of intelligence about, the numbers, what has been done and discussed in the past, and what were the commitments, with the different parties, and give you a lot of analysis so that you can negotiate it in a much better way, right? So it can bring that intelligence, right? If you were to talk about it.
Sharad, now, as I was talking about the challenges, what the challenges generally CHROs are facing, but if you look at the concern, what the generally concern they are also having about the artificial intelligence and AI. So someone has also asked about the unbiased decision. So biasness, this is a challenge, definitely. How to deal, how to make the fair decisions, transparency, biasness. These are all the challenges. So, Sharad, how do you see how to cope up with this kind of challenge? That's a concern.
Right. See, the answer goes back to you have to understand how the model has been trained, right? If during the training process that bias has been inbuilt into the model, right? If I say I want to hire young and dynamic people, and I train the LLM to eliminate people who are above 45 years of age, that is a bias which is inbuilt into it. But then that bias got inbuilt because it is my bias, and I trained the model like that, right? So this is where the deeper understanding of how AI works and how it is trained and how it can be trained for your needs becomes very important. The models which are there, and especially the large language model which are being used everywhere, they are very powerful. So you can actually they're just like you build the bias, you can also eliminate the bias. You can train the LLM that look at the opposing point of view. Give me the opposite point of view. Tell me what the biases are while you are giving me this answer. So if you go deeper into it, you learn how the model has been trained. You use your own analytical and cognitive thinking to understand that something is a biased response, and you understand that pattern in the way that you are getting answers from the LLM. You challenge it and you learned advanced prompt engineering. Then you get data which you get results which you can believe in. It also depends on what kind of data you feed, and based with, and that data set is being used at the reference point. So if the data is good, it's comprehensive, it's not biased, and basically the data set has to be large. If you ask the AI to draw a conclusion from 100 interviews which were done, the data could be biased. But if you ask it to draw conclusions from 10,000 interviews that were done, maybe you can trust it more. So there are nuances in it. One has to learn the technology, one has to learn how bias gets created and how bias can get eliminated. And then the human being has to be like one step up, you know. They have to use their cognitive skills, they have to use the gaps, they have to spot the gaps, and then they have to train the AI like that. It's highly trainable. It's like a beast, but if you don't know how to manage the beast, then you are not going to be successful.
No, I think, Sharad, you have highlighted a very important point that this is working on the base of data. So if your data is not diverse, if data is not big, and algorithm, that is another part which is very important. So these two things are very important. So diverse data, that is also very important, you must have. And involvement of human intelligence, that is also equally important. If you 100% depend on this technology, might be you don't get the accurate result. As Manish always say that it is this technology is based on if and then. So what we are providing, then now you are using the prompt for the result. So what you are providing the data, that plays very important role. Manish, coming to you now. So as last time we have discussed about the use cases in talent acquisition, basically. So generally we talk about the biases in talent acquisition, in hiring. We talk about the biases in performance management. So how do you see if there are biases? How as a tech consultant, how would like to overcome with these challenges?
Sure. So I think one fact, Ramesh, what we have to release that, or what we have to appreciate that, uh, biases are always there. Okay, we are all humans, and we individually all have biases. So the data we generate, any data, hiring data, performance data, there will be so when we talk about performance data, performance comments, those are individual perceptions about the others. Of course, some of them are more factually corrected than the others, but those are individual POVs, point of views, right? So inherently those biases are there. Now where we have to take into account is the fact is that those biases should not be the ones which can create a problem, which takes away from the solution of the problem statement what we are trying to solve. And we should not base our decisions on something which is already biased, right? But in my view, everything is biased, right? People do have those opinions, and the data what is there is anyways inherently biased, right? Now, to answer your question, so that is the first thing what we'll have to appreciate. Even these AIs, what models they have been trained on. That is first. Second thing is, how do we handle this? Of course, there are checks and balances which we need to do. Like the way individually we do generally checks and balances before taking any action. So we cross validate it with somebody. We tell some of our peers that, okay, hey, I'm trying to do this. Do you think it's right or not? We look at historical precedents, right? In the similar way, whatever the output of the data, whatever we get it, we try to create certain mechanisms so that we look at the biasness, right? The one fundamental aspect is how and what is the data. What Sharad also mentioned is the thing what we need to look at it. But getting a right data is not easy. It's almost like water everywhere, not a drop to drink. In the similar way, we find a lot of data around us, but getting a clean, structured, proper data, real data is very difficult to get it, right? So that's why not many machine learning projects, do see a light of the day. A lot of AI see a light of the day. So, but yes, the validations is one. Don't outsource your complete thinking to any of the AI output. That is one way. Second is cross-validated, right? That is second. You as a user may not be able to go back and create the data structure so that you get an unbiased point of view from the AI tool. But whatever the output is getting it, you can validate it cross, and there are mechanisms to it, right? Always, and I always say that when you are asking any output from any of the gen AI tool, ask that give me a counterpoint of view and convince me that this is the view what you are giving it is the right view, right? And you will get the threadbare of it. Use certain mental models like first principles thinking, right? Pressure test your idea in that sense. And frankly, Romesh, we have all been doing it, right? And in a very funny way, I always say that whenever we go to ATM, which is the most predictable process, right? Whenever any number of notes come out, we always look at that and count those notes. Now imagine we do this to validate with the most predictable output of a vending machine, giving out the number of notes. So in the similar way, we have to do it with any of the AI output of it. Don't outsource your thinking. Do have your own mechanisms to do it. It is much more easier for if you're solving a reasoning problem than if you are solving a unstructured textual problem statement. So that's how I would like to put it that way.
And Sharad, how do you see these biases, maybe some cases in performance management? Because this is also area where generally people ask this question.
Performance management data is very sensitive, right? Because you don't want to wrongly calibrate performance, and you don't want to wrongly calibrate potential, both from an individual point of view as well as from an organizational point of view. Because for the individual, if one of the deepest reasons why people don't like working for a company is when they feel their performance has not been acknowledged, recognized, rated in the correct way. It's very fundamental because people put in so much of effort, and then obviously, they want to be fairly judged. Your fairness, your transparency, your equity, all those characteristics which make a great workplace, very, very fundamental values. How you manage performance is actually the test for it, because that is when people judge integrity, fairness, equity, transparency, all of those things. When you give feedback, is it backed by evidence? Do you give it timely? Can you explain the rating in a way that it makes sense to the employee or not? So it's a very sensitive area. For the organization, it's equally important because you are going to make certain bets. You are going to identify your high potential people, your high performance people, and probably your compensation and reward system is going to be built around that. So identifying the right people, who are your top performers, who are your top potential people, is very important. If your data is biased or your algorithm is wrong, then you fail. So I would say, and there's always a human element there, a human decision, a human bet on somebody who is who is high potential, who can perform better. So it's always like through years you develop that judgment, and it's a characteristic of good leaders. So it's a tricky area to start AI, or how much you delegate to AI, what is the part that you tell AI to do, and what is the part that you tell human to do. That becomes very important in performance management. And probably the easy one is the routine part, running your performance cycle, releasing the form, seeing what percentage is completed, pushing people, giving people a nudge to complete that. That part is the easy one. AI should handle that. When it comes to decision making, I think you need more sophisticated algorithms. You need to test it enough. You need to trust it. It needs to be brought to a place where you can trust the input which AI is giving you. And there should always be a human in the loop there. Everything that AI generates is like an input for the human. So that's what I think the use of AI in performance management is. It can give you pattern reading. So AI is very good at pattern reading and much better than humans because it can digest a lot of data, analyze that, and give you results. So the more data you give it, and the more it can definitely give you patterns. But if you have faulty data and less data, then it can draw very wrong conclusions.
So Romesh, just to build on that, we have seen some very interesting use cases in the performance management. Right now, again, I'll come back to it. What is the problem statement we are trying to solve by using AI in the performance management? Now, traditionally, detecting the bias, right? Now, that has been a one big focus area there, right? So you take out all the subjective comments by the managers, right? And with simple prompting, you can come out with certain themes, what people managers are using to give a feedback on, right? You can, with simple prompting, you can check, what are the biases, and if you have to define the biases, and that is very much in context of the organization. Okay, you can get a lot of insights out of it. What is the undercurrent of those biases, and language, the tonality, the factualness, the usage of numbers vis-a-vis the words, and so on and so forth, right? You can do a lot of those things. That input can go in a long way to build capability of managers in how to give a feedback. So I think that has been used with by few of the clients wonderfully, right? And that is a very good use case there. Second, identifying success profile in terms of performance, right? So you look at different data points, you look at historical track record, you do, and that's a typical machine learning problem, right? So you create an algorithms and say that, okay, what kind of skill sets what a person should have to become the most productive or the high performer, after how much time. So ideally the problem statement is how many cycles of performance a month a person takes to go above the average rating, right? And when you test this hypothesis, you can get enormous amount of data from the performance data, and then work backwards to build the entire employee development journey to take a new joiners to that level. Again, a very beautiful use case, right? Helping managers to structure their feedback into a developmental feedback, again by simple, a few short prompting examples, right? That, okay, turn this your feedback to a developmental feedback. So I think a lot of areas we have seen AI been doing that.
Yeah, Manish, I said very beautifully. I think you have explained the use cases of performance management and AI. And we do have another question that is related to the L&D part and how we can use this. But before we move, would you like to quickly share how this 2 day certification course is helping to the participants for the use of artificial intelligence in HR process and different use cases, as we are talking about the PMS, as we're talking about the talent acquisition, learning and development part, how you can prepare them within 2 days so that they can start working on these the HR functions.
Sure. And in the meantime, while you flip the screen, Romesh, I would like to just set the context that, when we were designing this program, there were very clear objectives what we were working with. One, we have to take the HR community ahead of the change curve, right? This time, we won't let the new technology, take over without us being prepared for it. So we are trying to, make HR community ready ahead of the change curve, one learner at a time. So that's the larger call what we are trying to do. Second is that the way we have structured this is the key to learning outcomes is one, it will help the participants to become more productive, which means that whatever the effort vis-a-vis the output in terms of sheer number of hours, right, you are trying to put in, it will remarkably, make you, give more output with less inputs in terms of sheer time, right, and effort, right? So that is one. And then the other key learning outcome is that it will prepare the learners to become more complex thinkers so that they can handle and solve more complex people problems in the business, right? So we want our participants, and that's why this course is hyper contextualized from the day in a life of a HR professional, and this is a role agnostic, right? So whether you are an HR business partner, your COE, operations, HR automation, HR strategy, you will have something to take away, from this journey, right? And again, it's a 2-day journey. We start with demystifying the tech terms because the lines between the tech and the non-tech talent is getting blurred now. Everybody is a coder, everybody is a programmer. So we demystify the entire technical aspects in a very simple language for the non-technical participants. Then we go into the language of AI, which is prompt engineering. So how, by using different prompts, you can actually solve a lot of problem statements. You can get more output of those things. How to structure a problem, because one thing what we really emphasize is that with this AI tools coming in, the capability arena has flipped. Now, how you structure a problem statement becomes the defining moment. How you are able to solve it, right? So because these AI tools will be able to give you a lot of output, which is relevant to you, but unless you know what you are seeking out, you can be taken for a ride. So then we talk about prompt engineering. Then we go into the different tools, right? We don't promote any particular tool. We don't say that, okay, buy this tool or go for this subscription. The idea is to take as many tools possible. And here, how we differentiate from any other learning experience in the market is, again, we hyper contextualize each of these tools in the day of life of an HR professional, right? So if you're talking about perplexity, we will talk about areas how perplexity can be used to do research through labs and so on and so forth. In what areas in HR business partner, in operations, and so on and so forth. So hyper contextualization within the HR space. Then we start solving the use cases, and our approach is to do it hire to retire. We start with talent acquisition, talent engagement, talent development, talent management, HR analytics, total rewards, HR strategy. So we have a library of use cases, what we have researched, what we work with our clients, what we, work with so many learners, they bring in their own perspective from different organizations. So we share those libraries, we hands-on solve those use cases, which makes the person understand that it's not only the knowledge, but how to apply that knowledge within these tools. A very one important thing, you might be, or your organization might be a part of Microsoft enterprise structure or Google. We pretty much solve both of, use cases in both the environments in that sense, right? Then, of course, there are other topics, on the day two when we talk about how to identify AI opportunity, right? So all these questions that what AI can do in this domain, what AI can do that domain. Once you go through this, you won't ask this question. You yourself will have a very independent thought process to evaluate what AI can do, right? So you will no more ask a question AI can do. You will have your very strong point of view that no, AI cannot do something like this here, but AI can do like this here, right? So that's the capability you want to build. And essentially, you want to build a capability of all the HR professionals to have a seat on the table when they have a discussions with the business guys, like what AI can do, what AI cannot do. We cover elements like ethics in AI, very important one. And we give away a lot of reference materials, a lot of reading materials, very, very research oriented. So that's the journey of, 2 days, Romesh. And this is for all the participants. Again, just to reinforce the learning outcome, you'll become productive in your roles, and you will become more complex problem solvers, which is actually the need for HR professions to support their businesses in much more effective way. So that's the clear learning outcome, Romesh.
If there's any question from the participant side on maybe on the tools or any on the use cases, you may please raise the hand and we can quickly have the question.
Yeah, so I think there's a question that how can we take help of AI to personalize employee training and career development programs, right? So maybe I can take that, and maybe Sharad, then you can add your bits to it.
Sharad, generally we talk about a lot of content you can create with the artificial intelligence in the different languages and maybe very personalized. So better if you can respond on this.
Yeah, so I think the personalization, there are three aspects to it. One is the specific HR role in which you are, the specialization. whether you are a recruiter, whether you are comp and ben, performance management, HR business partner, L&D. So which specific HR domain you are in, that's one. Second point to personalization is which career stage you are in. So are you in early career stage, you are in middle career stage, you are in senior level, you are C-level. So which career stage you are in. And then the third level of personalization is what is your personal learning style? Because people have different learning styles. So how do you like to learn? Do you like to read? Do you like to learn by doing? Do you like somebody to teach you step by step and then you can follow it? So basically, these are the three layers. And if the training is constructed utilizing these three levels, the stage at which you are, your specialization, and your personal learning style, and of course, what is your world that comes from your specialization? Like if you are an HR business partner, you are probably dealing with senior business leaders, and then there are issues that come out of that, and then you would like to use AI to address those. Whereas if you are a HR ops person doing background verification, your world is different. You have different type of challenges, etc. So for me, it's three-step mantra. The first is your specialization and therefore your world. Second is the stage of career at which you are. And then the third is your own your personality. How do you like to learn? What is your personal preference? So a training which is tuned to these three factors would kind of make good sense, and people can learn and they can actually apply. Otherwise, you go through a lot of training where you just sit through the workshop. A lot of things are told, but hardly 10% you translate back at work.
Right. I think we typically have elaborated this. So, Manish, there is one more question. I think you may like to respond on this. However, this is about the particular AI tool. You may not recommend, but yeah, if you want to comment on this.
So, if I'm just reading the question for the benefit of all, are there any established tools for automated AI-based screening interviews to assess competency of large pool of candidates and recommend the best fit of candidates? Yes, I mean, there are quite a few of tools. Because talent acquisition is one of the most fertile grounds for thriving of the AI because it essentially is a pattern matching. It's a rule-based, a process where essentially you're looking at a JD and matching with the profile of the candidate. You're matching the skills, you're matching the score. So in fact, one of the largest area of VC investments in HR tech products is happening in talent acquisition. So by virtue of that, you will find a lot of tools, right? And again, I won't name specifically one or two of them, but you can pretty much create your own method of screening and using some structure to stack rank the candidates. You can put some a script of the interview and can identify by sheer script the assessments criteria. You can do a lot of you can use different competency framework, create those behavioral event interviews basis those competency, ask the candidate on those things and can get the response and then process it basis that competency. Now all these tools and all this entire thing what I'm talking about, you don't need a very very fancy tool specifically for this. You can very well, and that's what we teach in our course as well. You can do it with whatever the tools are available in the market. You can do it with Copilot, you can do it with Gemini if you have that access to. But yes, there are structured tools available in the market as well as part of their enterprise suites which can do that, but it can be done individually as well, right? So that's if you ask me, that can be done very very effectively, right? On the point of this is very interesting question, how AI can personalize employee training. Now, I'll just give you a specific answer that how AI can help it. One of the ways to personalize is first understand what are the different personas of employees or learners existing in your organization, right, or in your function. You can use a lot of statistical analysis like your factor analysis, cluster analysis, to create those clusters or persona of profiles, learner profiles, And then whatever the static content you have, you can adapt that static content to the learner style, right? And this can be done with reasoning based tools. This can be done by simple prompts, and you can get some really really good and effective output, right? So just to give an example, if you are a learner, there are two sets of learner. One learner is very cognitive driven, that the person needs to understand concepts, framework, while the other learner is very experiential learner, wherein that person learns through experiences, right? And you have a static content of how to do effective delegation, right? Now these AI tools, and what these AI tools, what I'm talking about, these are the ones which we cover in these 2 days. By through simple prompting and simple structuring of the problem, you can turn the static content for an experiential learner in different ways. So AI tools can convert content into case studies, role plays, action after action learning projects, and so on and so forth. For a conceptual learner, the simple topic of how to delegate effectively, AI tools can turn that into a lot of concepts, theories, frameworks, modality thinking kind of structures, right? So that's how that can be done very effectively. And that's exactly what this is one of the actual use cases in our learning and development part of it.
Right. And so, as we are using the artificial intelligence from hire to retire, and in between the employee engagement, the attrition part, we do cover with the analytics. So we are talking about also the predictive analytics. So meanwhile, I do have a question that can we predict by the artificial intelligence that this employee is about to leave the organization? So based on this behavior pattern, how the AI works on this?
Yeah, there's a lot of research which has been done. There are a lot of tools. Even before AI, people have built early warning system kind of systems where so it can be fairly accurately predicted. For example, Iris Software, where I work, we have a predictive survey. Our employee satisfaction survey is actually a predictive survey, and when we roll out that just based on the scores, because for last 6 years we have a lot of data around that which so for each question we know how it is correlated with attrition, and which combination of questions, if rated in a particular way, increases the risk of attrition. So just by data science, that can be done, correlation analysis, causative analysis. And then when you bring AI on top of that, it becomes even more powerful. There have been many startups and many companies also which have done this. There used to be a company called Volumetrics, which was acquired by Microsoft. So today it is in Microsoft Teams itself. Based on your emailing pattern, based on your communication pattern, they can predict if somebody is likely to leave, because people who are likely to leave, their communication pattern changes. They send less emails, they go to very close group of people, so the activity reduces itself, and that tells you that this is a sign of disengagement. In simple terms, one has to become an expert in spotting disengagement. How do you spot disengagement? And it may be verbal, it may be non-verbal. You may ask somebody, hey, Romesh, are you disengaged? And you will say, no, I'm not disengaged. I'm, perfectly into my job. So that way you can't get it. But your non-verbal cues, your digital footprint, the messages that you send, how active you become outside the company on LinkedIn, networking, etc. So when you make a complete digital map of the activities of the person, and you are able to take a data-driven lens to it, and with AI and the right type of algorithm, you will be able to predict. I would not say it's 100%, but there's a pretty good, with good data, good behavioral science behind it, you will be able to predict with a fair degree of confidence.
Just to add on to this, I
Yeah,
think
please.
where this AI is turning into magic, just to build upon Sharad's point. Earlier, when I was growing up through the corporate, ladder, unless you have any, objective data in terms of numbers, you had to put that into algorithm and make it as a machine learning problem, right? So that's how you project it. Now with Gen AI capability coming in, you can process a lot of unstructured data, right? Like what comment somebody has written, what behavior that person is doing it on the digital space, where people are leaving some threads, right? So you can pretty much monitor the and process the unstructured data, right? And that is also creating a magic, right? You can put engagement data, performance data, you can have conversations with the managers and so on and so forth. So it'll give a lot of those themes, and that is where these Gen AI capability is just creating a magic out there.
Manish, you bring in very important point. I was about to ask about the data. So there's also one question on WhatsApp. So Manish, everything is based on data when we talk about the artificial intelligence. So before the integration, what the HR people need to work on the data part. We're talking about the data quality that should be good, that should be structured. So how they can start this process on the data.
It's a most fundamental question, Romesh, that, especially in HR, one has to look into it because in HR, people deal with people decisions, right? It can be a performance, it can be a talent, it can be engagement, it can be any decision, right? So it is important to look at the data. Now, the first of all is that you need to understand that what kind of data you need, right? Now, if you are dealing with a problem statement of performance, do you want to look at data which are KPI driven data, or you're looking at some other random data which is an engagement data lying somewhere else, right, or unrelated to it? So the second point is the quality of the data, right? You might have missing data. You might have to create extrapolate the data, and you might not have a data at all, or even if you have the data, it is incomplete data, right? Or the data quantity is very small. So there are ways to do it. I mean, you create a bit of synthetic data also in that sense, or then you don't initiate it, you look at the whole problem statement in a very limited way, and don't venture it wherein you think that the any kind of prediction would not be the right prediction because the data quality was not right. So data quality becomes the second part of it. The third part is, this is a very interesting things that we feel a lot of times. A lot of people feel that the moment we create algorithm and it starts predicting, I think a lot of things are sorted. But like humans, algorithm also have a life, right? So if you are using algorithm which is like you've been using it for 5 years, 8 years, but the context is changing, that's typically a concept what we typically call as model drift. So the model drifts, right? But if you're still using it for your own decision making where the context has changed. So just to give you an example, if you have a multi-generation workforce and you have Gen Zs as well, but the model what you have had is pretty much at best Gen X. Now you cannot do any kind of prediction, especially in the retention space and so on and so forth, basis that model, because that model has drifted out, right? So you have to make sure that there is a continuous data pipelines where the data is keep on flowing in into it. And as an HR, you have to make sure that your systems are integrated in a effective way wherein this data continuously flows in, right? And of course, then the very important part is the data integrity part of it, right? So then again, there are ways that if HR folks are working onto it, the data should be anonymous, and there are multiple tools to do it, right? It's not a complex problem, but it's a problem statement that you should not say that, okay, this guy has having high performance ratings. Oh, this guy must be from this function, right? So you cannot, so data has to be completely anonymous, right? So these are some of the things, which we always recommend HR folks to have a good consideration of when they're dealing with the data. But again, I'm a big fan of articulating a problem statement, defining the attribute in a structured problem statement way. The identification of data becomes much more easier.
So, Sharad, coming to you now. So, I think we're talking about all the HR process, hire to retire. But it's still, maybe if the technology improves and everything is fine. But as a HR guy, what would be your suggestion that which process should be only human-led and which you can delegate for the with the HR technology, with the AI technology?
Great question. It brings us to the heart of HR, right? What once you become AI powered, what still remains? See, I think AI can play a great role in HR, 60, 70, 80%. It can get you data. It can have fantastic algorithms. It can predict a lot of things. It can eliminate your repetitive work, etc. It can be a thought partner for you. But finally, HR is basically a heart-led function. It's the human connection, and people crave that human connection. I don't think you can build a relationship with a machine, even if the machine is very intelligent and always right. That is not what you are looking for in your life. What you are looking for is a relationship with a human being, somebody who understands you. And imperfect human being is okay because we are all imperfect in our own ways. And we understand that at a human level. So I think the relationship, the heart part of it, the real understanding, the bonding, that you can never replace to AI. I think if that starts getting replaced to AI, or we start doing that for cost reasons or business reasons or other reasons, it will be a lost. I think it will not work well with a human workforce. You have to stay human, in the world of AI. And that is, I think, we cannot let the relationships and the heart to cannot be outsourced to AI. AI is very smart. It's like, the boy in your class or the girl in your class who always used to come first. They always have the right answers. They are very good. But ultimately, you are attracted to the person who reciprocate your feelings. So that is what the relationships are all about.
I think we have taken all the questions, and thank you for raising such important questions. Another important part is still, if you have any query, anything, so we have created the WhatsApp group. You can raise the questions. We will try to respond even in a group. Thank you so much, Sharadji and Manish, for joining us and sharing your wonderful thoughts.
Thank you, Romesh ji.
Thank you, all participants.
Always great to be part of your event. So thoughtful and very fundamental points being brought out.
Thank you, Sharadji.
Thank you so much.